Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. October 25th, 2017.
Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Savage Nation with a jazz funeral in memory of Fats Domino today, one of my favorites. And here's one of his great songs on the Savage Nation.
I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill when I
love this guy. Even when I was a little kid, here I am, a white kid in New York. I went where the feelings were, so I love jazz music. I love Fats Domino, not only for his songs, but his persona was one of joyousness, friendliness. He was a great man, and he died. I was just reading about him. In 1986, Fats Domino was one of the first musicians to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, that strikes a chord. Here's something interesting. In the 1980s, Fats Domino decided he would no longer leave New Orleans because he lived in a beautiful big home in an actual poor neighborhood. He lived in a mansion. And he had enough money from his royalties. He hated touring, and he claimed he could not get any food that he liked anywhere else. I love that one. He's my kind of guy. An invitation from the White House persuaded him to make an exception to this policy of not traveling. Now, what's interesting is that in 1998, President Bill Clinton awarded Fats Domino the National Medal of Arts. That's a beautiful award. I only hope that one day I will be honored with a national medal of some kind for all the great work I've done, but I'm not holding my breath. Given the politics of the time, I doubt that that will happen. And what will it do for me at the end of the day? It'll be another thing to throw into the archives. Now, I don't want to focus too much on the negative, meaning he died, and it's sad. He was a great man. He led a good life. He lived in a beautiful home. He had lots of children. What's this? Domino with the National Medal of Arts replaced by George W. Bush. Oh, after the original medal awarded to him by Clinton was lost in the floodwaters of Hurricane Katrina. That's interesting. I remember seeing him at the theater up in Harlem during a Alan Freed rock and roll show. I'll tell that story for one more minute before I get into the news and views and reviews that I know you want to hear. So Fats Domino died October 24th, 2017. He was 89 years old. And I remember seeing him at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame up in the Apollo Theater in Harlem. Now, I gotta tell you this. We're talking 1950s, mid-50s. We're talking white kids who took 3 trains to get to that theater. We're talking an auditorium filled with white kids and black kids. No one punched anyone. No one stabbed anyone. No one cursed anyone. All we did was sing and dance in the aisles during that rock and roll show. Look how far America has fallen as a result of the hippie 60s. Look at what hatred has emerged in this country as a result of the white communists who have stirred up hatred in this nation. Anyway, that's the opening to my show. Let's have another Fats Domino song, then I'll get into the topics that I want to cover today. Well, I just covered one of them.
You know I love you, yes I do, and I'm saving all my love in jail for you. Need your loving and I need it bad.
By the way, Fats Domino was of French Creole background, and Louisiana Creole French was his first language. I don't know if you know that. And his father was a well-known violinist. This is an amazing story to see how this man, who you think is just a rock and roll singer who doesn't know music, it was in his genes. Anyway, goodbye, Fats. We'll remember you. And now I want to talk about something not quite as pleasant. I want to talk about liberal Jews and Nazis, how Harvey Weinstein, Larry David, and Bernie Madoff destroyed the image of the Jewish people. I'm also going to talk about how if you are Italian, of Italian heritage, African-American heritage, Irish heritage, I'm going to ask you, which amongst you today embarrasses you the most? We know that the Italian people hated the Sopranos show because it stereotyped Italians as all being in criminality or in gangs, somehow tied into the mafia. And most Italians hated that show. The only people who liked the Sopranos were non-Italians, by and large, who loved it because it stereotyped Italians, just as Larry David does, and he stereotypes the worst of the Jews. We're also going to talk about the white privilege hoax and the death of learning in the universities of today. And if that's not enough for you, I'm going to give you a little background on nutritional therapies for various and assorted problems such as schizophrenia, anxiety, and things of that nature from the greats in the field, something you may not know about. So I'm going to give you your money's worth, in other words. You pay nothing to listen, so I'm going to give you nothing. But the fact of the matter is you pay something because you're investing your time in listening to this show. And I remember that every day. Every city, every big city has 70 or some odd radio stations. Every imaginable radio station playing everything you can imagine, from music, sports, entertainment, talk. And then you have the internet now. The phenomenal competition is overwhelming. So if you invest 15 minutes in my show, I'm going to give you 15 minutes worthy of your time. So what triggered my monologue today that on liberal Jews and Nazis, how Harvey Weinstein, Larry David, and Bernie Madoff destroyed the image of the Jewish people? Well, I'll tell you what did it. I was watching HBO last night, and I purposely did not want to watch Larry David's replay, his new series, because I don't like his stereotype, but I was scanning through it. It was the last 10 minutes of his latest one. I was so appalled I couldn't sleep. And so I thought I should write this today and maybe vent for myself and vent for others. So here it goes. The current crop of Jewish people are unfortunately typified by the above three. Try to name a prominent person of the Jewish faith who is a positive role model in the United States and the world. Can you name one? Where is the Albert Einstein or Jonas Salk of our time? New lows are hit on a daily basis. It was bad enough that Woody Allen single-handedly debased the image of the Jewish male forever by playing up the Yiddish stereotype of the schlemiel and made a fortune laughing all the way to the bank. You see, Woody Allen created the image of the weak, servile, cowardly Jew to get where he is. And now we come to the special case of Larry David. On a recent episode of his revitalized series, HBO hit a new low in anti-Semitism by airing this insanity. In this episode, the scene is set at a Jewish funeral for a boy who died in an accident. The Larry David character fights with the usher over a seat, pushes his way through the mourners to get a better seat, tells a grieving mother to shut up and stop crying, and tops it all off when an Arab arrives to join the mourners. David starts screaming, "Gun! Gun! He's got a gun!" And the entire congregation is seen trampling on each other to run out of the synagogue in cowardice, fear, and terror. Now, what does such, quote, comedy serve but to ignite the ugliest stereotypes of Jews? Is there no bottom to what low-grade comedians will do to bank a few dollars? Is this not a stereotype unto itself? All this is doing is stirring up negative images of Jewish people, period. No, there shouldn't be a law to prevent this kind of racism, but there should be some kind of self-constraint on the type of lowlifes that create this product. In a past generation, blacks were portrayed as servile and foolish in the character known as Stepin Fetchit. In the 1940s, the Stepin Fetchit character was the type who always said, "Yes, sir," and made white audiences laugh hysterically because he portrayed the black male in the way white audiences wanted to see black males, which was servile and stupid. Sort of all of them were Pullman Porters. When was the last time you seen a black character doing that? You would never see a black character putting down blacks, would you? Not only would such a character never be aired by the major media, not only would no one in Hollywood ever fund such a character, but I don't think such a character even exists in the African-American community. And yet Hollywood and HBO rushed to fund the ugly stereotype created by Larry David. As far as Harvey Weinstein goes, I'm sad to tell you that there were Nazi posters and films created by the propaganda minister Goebbels, which portrayed Jews in the manner of a Harvey Weinstein. They looked like him. It is hard to believe that a living embodiment of these Nazi posters has now appeared in our time. I can only conclude by asking, where are the positive Jewish role models today? Can you name one? And the same thing now applies to Italians, blacks, and Irish. Who embarrasses you amongst your people? This is the Savage Nation. The phone number is 855-400-7282. MichaelSavage.com is the website. No, I will not be talking about the dossier. That's Radio 01, not even 101. But to just read the Drudge Report and give you a story you can read yourself. We know the Democrats created dirty stuff about Trump that was a lie. I said it to you when it came out. I said, on the face of it, Trump wouldn't do a thing like this. Of course it was created as a smear tactic. What else is new? The Democrats are the communists of our time. This is what they do. And what are the consequences going to be? A rash? Hillary Clinton's going to break out in a headache, flushing, abnormal vision, nasal congestion, back pain, muscular pain, nausea, dizziness, rash, or diarrhea because she's been exposed for what she is? No. That's why I'm not covering the dossier. I'll leave it to others to do that. Instead, I want to cover topics that are important to me. And this one is important to me. Liberal Jews and Nazis. How Harvey Weinstein, Larry David, and Bernie Madoff destroyed the image of the Jewish people, comma, in my opinion. Again, we're going to talk about the white privilege hoax and the death of learning. Incidentally, on that issue of white privilege, which I covered yesterday, there's a math education professor at a so-called university who says that there is no such thing as objective knowledge. It's all what you feel. It's all subjective. And that teaching minorities who may fail in math, let's say the Pythagorean theorem, things of that nature, is a racist trick to embarrass people of color and minorities. Why don't you tell that to people in Japan, China, and India? These nations seem to excel in mathematics and objective learning. As a matter of fact, they are all homogeneous in population by and large. They don't seem to need multiculturalism to study the Pythagorean theorem. And that's what I want to say at this time, and I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
I'm walking, here's the need, I'm talking, but you and me, I'm hoping that you come back to me.
We are celebrating the life of a great jazz musician, that's Domino, and we are talking here, about how liberal Jews, such as those I named, in my opinion, destroyed the image of the Jewish people, and which amongst your particular race, or such, religion, if you want to put it that way, embarrass you. And also the white privilege hoax and the death of learning, as exemplified by that dodo bird who teaches, quote, math education and says that minorities should not be forced to learn logic, scientific method, or in this case, the Pythagorean theorem, because it's a method of entrapping minorities into failure. I've never heard anything like this. So let's begin with some of the callers on the program. WABC Charles, line 6, what's your topic?
Hey, Dr. Savage, I can't believe I got on. I've spoken with you before, but you are a role model for us, for the members of the...
All right, I accept that. So other than me, who's the Jonas Salk of our generation?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we don't have one, but what I wanted to say about Larry David is, interestingly enough, it was my theory all along that George Costanza, who played him in Seinfeld for all these years, and I learned later that, yes, indeed, he was playing Larry David, was made in Italian, because Costanza was an Italian, so they could get away with all the Jewish stereotypes.
But what Jew puts himself down like this and makes a fortune and is not called out on it?
Well, you know, there's a
do you understand the devastation? Wait, stop. Do you understand what Woody Allen did to the Jewish male image? That Woody Allen single-handedly made most people in America and the world say, yeah, Jews are like that. They're all like that. When have you last seen a Jewish male portrayed as, let's say, an Israeli war hero? Tell me when, or an American war hero, like never? When have the vermin of Hollywood ever shown a Jewish male in any way other than a schlemiel, a schlemazel, a weakling, a coward, someone who puts himself down? Tell me when.
I don't recall. And along those lines, years ago, I was watching a cable.
All right, let's move on. It's too much already. You're giving me too much Jewish shtick already. I ask you a question. You're running the show. No, I understand. He could talk me into the corner here. Just what the Jewish people needed was Harvey Weinstein to come along at this time. Perfect. We needed Bernie Madoff even more. Even more important was Bernie Madoff. Every stereotype about a Jewish crook who robbed his own mother and every Jewish charity could get his stinking dirty hands on. Just what the Jewish people ordered in this incendiary time of ours. And then along comes Harvey Weinstein. In my estimation, the Nazi posters portrayed people who looked like Harvey Weinstein. If you did them you couldn't stereotype what the Nazis did more particularly than with him. I don't understand how this happens. And now along comes Larry David. It wasn't bad enough that we lived through the previous incarnations of the show, but he has to revitalize it, and I told you, I'm just scanning by it, and here's a Jewish funeral turned into a mockery of every Jewish stereotype once again. And I got to tell you, the other characters are so bad. The one who played the wife, Cheryl, man, is she over the hill. Has she suffered in that marriage with that Kennedy guy? That's all I could think when I saw her face. It changed completely. And then there's another character who plays a Jewish woman with a loud mouth. Every word out of her mouth is a filthy, dirty F word. That's humor today. No, it's humor only amongst people who wouldn't have even made it in the Borscht Belt. Because let me tell you something. In the Borscht Belt days of comedy, there was no dirty words. I grew up in that world. The owners would have thrown them off the stage if they ever got up there and used an F word like that. Nobody would have laughed at it. The men would have thrown chairs at a bum like that. And today, look at this. Look what they can get away with today on HBO. Shall I tell you what that acronym stands for? I can't. It's a family show.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
I got a whole lot of love for you.
In memory of the great Fats Domino today.
I got a whole lot of
Great man. Wonderful man.
whole lot of for you.
So here we are. Welcome. Step right up. I have the cure for everything right here on the Savage Nation. I am the NAC of talk radio. I am the N-acetylcysteine of talk radio today. And later on we will talk about some nutrients and their relationship to anxiety, depression, even schizophrenia that's been buried by the medical establishment, most particularly by the drug industry, that does not want you to know that you may, and I say may, be able to ameliorate some of these problems for pennies rather than thousands of dollars. But I want to go back to the emotional question of liberal Jews and Nazis and how Harvey Weinstein, Larry David, and Bernie Madoff, in my opinion, of course, destroyed the image of the Jewish people. And I asked a loaded question at the end because I truly couldn't answer it. Where is the Albert Einstein or Jonas Salk of our time? Can you name any positive Jewish role models? So someone said, what about Mark Zuckerberg? I said, okay, let's think about that for a minute. He claims he had no religion. That's number one. Then when he decided he wanted to be political, he said he was Jewish. Or I don't know which religion, but he said he discovered religion once he decided to run for office. I guess he's going to try to go out to some Christian communities and sell people on his relationship to Moses. I don't know. Is Mark Zuckerberg a positive role model just because he's rich? I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. And now we're talking about the lie of white privilege, which is bolstered by teaching math. In other words, that they say teaching math is unto itself racist. This is unbelievable. So someone wrote this. A P.W. Britt wrote, professional mathematicians roll our eyes a great deal when we are presented with people whose degrees are in mathematics education. The only mathematician associated with the Common Core math standards resigned from the project. No mathematician was part of that fiasco. So this Common Core education is what has produced a dunce like that woman professor, so-called, who said that you cannot teach any of these higher mathematical concepts to minorities without engaging in racism. It's unbelievable to me. How stupid can people be? People write it's called the Pythagorean theorem because Pythagoras first stated it. He happened to be Greek. That's it. This teacher is truly ignorant. I think she's doing this for attention. No one could be this stupid. Then another one writes, is she aware that the leading countries in mathematical aptitude are non-white countries? How does this teacher explain this? If she argues that they had to learn it to be competitive and successful in society, she proves her own narrative false. Clearly non-whites are quite capable of learning math. Please tell me that there are non-whites out here that think this is completely ridiculous. Restore my faith just a bit today, please. Another one. How stupid should people be, writes Cohen the Barbarian. The very algebra has been invented by a non-white. There are more prominent mathematicians among Jews, Indians, and Chinese than among whites. Is she proposing that understanding of algebra and geometry is a criteria of whiteness? If so, I'd agree to that approach wholeheartedly. You see where we're going? If we let these people like her, impose their insanity and their racism upon our educational system, I can guarantee you this nation is doomed in the future. Because right now China and India are making great strides in science, technology, and math, and science, as I said, while the United States and many European nations are falling behind. I guess now we should expect that Chinese and Indians will be surprised to learn that they are spreading whiteness to their students. This Professor Gutierrez, who believes that equality can be achieved by punishing smart students and convincing those not very smart or just lazy that they are oppressed, is destroying the entire educational system in the United States. It is no wonder that high school and college diplomas offer meaningless little in the real world. Keep it up, and you will see this nation devolve even further. I guess you could say that it is tied up to the whole concept of entertainment and how that has debased the mind of America today, if you want to talk about that. So if you're Irish or Italian or black, are there any people who embarrass you as much as Jews are embarrassed by Weinstein, David, and Bernie Madoff? WABC, John, what is your ethnic background?
Irish Catholic.
And who is it that offends you the most? I mean, when you say you're Irish Catholic, who amongst the Irish Catholics make you cringe?
I don't know if they're the top, but some of the Kennedys, past and present. In the past and present.
So, I'm serious, but when you saw Edward Kennedy, you felt, what did you feel, actually? I don't want to put words in your mouth. What did you feel?
Just as you talk about your past and where you came from, you take pride in this. I take pride in the same. My religion, my family, my heritage. When you see guys like Ted Kennedy and what he did, and the infidelities that his brother had, it's embarrassing to the rest of us.
All right, that's good enough. I'm not looking, to turn this into more than it already is. I'm sending you a copy of God, Faith, and Reason when it's out in a few weeks. You said your religion, so I figure you're a person who might want to read it, even though it's not really a religious book per se. It's about the search for religion, or the search for God more particularly. One man's search, and it may help people find themselves or find their way back to believing in something more than themselves. Let's put it to you that way. Let's see where we go now on this program, because we're not doing Clinton paid for Kremlin dirt on Trump. That's a great headline. Read it on the Drudge Report. Study it yourself. That's all. Or read about the headline, Blood in the Water, Harvey and the Tampon Caper, if you want to get nauseous and throw up altogether. Can you believe that headline? Blood in the Water, Harvey and the Tampon Caper. Personally, I don't believe that actually occurred. I think a lot of this is invented now to bring down Weinstein. No man I ever knew in the world would have done what this woman is accusing him of. I never heard of a man who did it. I never read of a man who did it. It is probably the most demented thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and yet, because of vermin in the legal profession, they can accuse anybody today, and there's no refutation. We are now living through the equivalent of the French Revolution, where all someone had to do was say, j'accuse, and the person was put before the guillotine and their head cut off. Well, let me tell you something, Gloria Allred and your wonderful daughter, the two of you. What goes around comes around. All I can tell you is that it's only a matter of time until the guillotine that you've been dropping on men's heads will eventually fall upon yours. People will uncover things in your past, I can guarantee you, that will eventually bring you to the shame that you deserve. How's that? You can write it down, and you can mail it in if you don't mind. You can send it to michaelsavage.com, not. KLIF, Sharon, go ahead, please. What's your topic?
Hi, yes, I wanted to, first, Dr. Savage, I love you. I'm so happy to be speaking with you.
Oh, someone loves me. At least I found someone who does.
And I absolutely agree with everything you say all the time. I am black, and for me, the people who are embarrassing me are these modern-day rappers. I am humiliated by how they act and dress and present themselves because people assume that all black people act like they do.
No, I'm laughing, Sharon, with relief. Sharon, I'm laughing with relief because I swear to God, I have never in the modern media heard one black person ever interviewed who said they're embarrassed by rap music. Have you?
No, I haven't.
No, and that's because the filth that runs the media makes money off rap music. The filth that runs the news business, the filth that does the interviews, they also own the record companies. They distribute this filth, so they would never, ever let America see that there are black people like yourself who are just as disgusted by that garbage as anyone else would be.
And they're acting just like the stereotype, and that's what makes me really angry, is that they don't even realize that you are doing exactly what racist white people assume we act like. You're acting exactly like that, and it's not a proud thing. It's very embarrassing.
Okay, so we watch a rap star, and then we assume every black male acts like that.
Yes, it's very true.
And every black woman is really a you-know-what, looking to shake her booty on the hood of a car.
Yep, it's true. It's very true. That's what they expect.
Well, you see, what that does to you, that's give you some idea of what Larry David does to me. When I watch this guy, I say, how does he not understand that to make a buck, he's debasing an entire people? Does it not bother him? I don't think so. I think these are shameless people. Okay, hey, Sharon, I'm so glad you listened on KLIF. A copy of God, Faith, and Reason goes out to you. On another topic of the fake narrative of white privilege, one of the greatest hoaxes of modern times, which is now penetrating a field that you thought it would never penetrate, which is mathematics itself. I mean, mathematics cannot be based upon race at all. It's impossible by definition. And yet these fools who are associated with the Common Core math standard have found a way to destroy mathematics itself. This is a very complicated topic in some ways, by the way. It's a very, very important topic. Michelle on KSFO, I understand you are a professor, and what would you like to say about my comments about the false narrative of white privilege?
It's disgusting, number one. I can speak from my experience. I'm a 30-year-old white, young, conservative professor teaching a social science class on 3 different campuses up in Northern California, where everywhere everyone is a liberal, basically, and my students can't discern for themselves. But I can see this in not only in my teaching and in my students, but my God, among the people that I work with, there is so much animosity, and it is the most volatile environment that I've ever had to work in, because we are constantly, as educators, at each other's throats. And we see this in the emails we send each other. We have these long threads of emails of professors attacking each other in a forum like this because of our personal beliefs. And conservatives, whenever we do speak out, we are instantly silenced. I fear for my job when I speak out about my political and... Well,
that's the sad state of liberalism today. It's not true liberalism, it's fascism. And the fact is that we're entering a very dangerous period which will turn violent very soon on the campuses.
Yeah.
Not just being fired, but you know what went on under Mao Zedong in China. I'm sure you know history, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Red Guards were the 15 and 14-year-old thugs that the communists used to embarrass middle-class Chinese people, to debase them, to humiliate them, to beat them, to drive them out of their jobs under the guise that they were counter-revolutionaries. You are, as a conservative, seen in the same light by these violent fake progressives. And on this show, we're never calling them a progressive again. We're calling them what they are, which is regressives. Everyone take a note, please, in your savage notes. Whenever referring to a so-called liberal as a progressive, try to remember they're not progressives, they're regressives. Now, that doesn't help you because you're in a system where if you at all dissent from the established norm, you will be punished, either by not being given tenure or being fired altogether. Is that correct?
By tenure faculty who are conservative, who have no problem voicing their opinion via email or in their classroom. I've been told by them, keep your mouth shut.
That's right. I'm going to give you some advice. Keep it to yourself until it does not threaten your livelihood. You're living in a very dangerous place in academia. You could turn it on them because you could say you're making me uncomfortable, you're not giving me a safe space, you're violating my rights, and I want you to understand that by violating my safe space, I'm going to bring charges against you. What you got to do is turn it around on them. Not play by their rules, Michelle. Play by the rules of fairness. Michelle, I'm sending you a book. If you know the title, you get it. What's the title of my next book?
God, Faith, and Reason, Michael.
Oh, my God. You're smart. You can remember a title. You're getting a copy of it. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
It is the Savage Nation. And I got to tell you this. I do have a Casper mattress. I've been sleeping on it. I would pick it over every other mattress, period. It does help me get the best night's sleep, period. Now, once you try Casper, you're going to love yours as much as I love mine. Switching to Casper is a no-brainer. It's a higher quality mattress at a more affordable price. You will sleep cool and comfortable every night thanks to Casper's 2 high-tech foams. Much better than on the old, overpriced mattress that you probably are sleeping on. Casper ships right to your door for free in a small "how did they do that" box. They'll even pick it up if you don't love it and refund you every dime, from its breakthrough design and superior quality to its packaging to letting you try it for 100 nights in your own home. It's no wonder Casper was named one of Fast Company's 50 most innovative brands of 2017. So sleeping on the mattress, as you know, is the best way to try it. Put Casper to the test in your own home for 100 nights, risk-free. Just go to Casper.com, use code SAVAGE for $50 towards the purchase of your mattress. You heard me. That's Casper.com, code SAVAGE, and you're going to get $50 towards the purchase of your mattress. Casper.com, terms and conditions do apply. KSFO, Michael, you'll have the last word in this hour, short of time. What are you calling about?
I'm calling as an Italian-American who was nauseated by Robert De Niro.
What is it about Robert De Niro that you don't like?
Well, number one, his mouth. For a little guy, he has a very big mouth. And the typical liberal, live as I say, not as I do.
You know what I don't understand about De Niro? I worshipped him as an actor for many years. He was so great in every movie he was ever in. And when he suddenly became political, I was scratching my head saying, how did this guy become such a crazy man? With this, I like to punch him in the nose, I hate him, he's a mook, he's a this. Does he think he's in a movie when he talks about Trump?
Obviously he does, Michael, because he wouldn't last 10 minutes on the east side of Detroit when I was young.
Well, here's an interesting thing. Another actor of that period is who's the other one I like? The guy who plays it. Who?
Al Pacino?
Yeah, Al Pacino. Now, I'm sure Al Pacino is just as liberal as Robert De Niro, but you never hear Pacino expressing his politics, do you?
No, I don't, and that's why I really admire him as an actor.
Right. He keeps it to himself. How is it that De Niro became so political and so embarrassed himself, especially amongst Italian Americans, is really a puzzle to me. I don't have an explanation for it. But, Michael, thanks for calling. I'm sending you a copy of God, Faith, and Reason. If you'll stay on the line, that book will be out in a few weeks, at which point we will all talk about it together. Next hour, schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, and nutrition. Yes, you heard me. You heard me. There are geniuses in this field.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.